welcoming everyone, all people of every age and ethnicity and cultural heritage and religious backgrounds, socioeconomic group and ability and sexual orientation and gender identity. And just to acknowledge that we study together and we practice for the benefit of all beings and for this living earth upon which we so gracefully get to stand, being born into this precious human birth through all of its challenges, to be able to listen to the Dharma and share it with each other. And also recognizing the suffering that's caused by biases and prejudices and systems of power and privilege and oppression. And that we aspire to do no harm and to dismantle barriers that cause separation and suffering. Recognizing really that our liberation is interconnected with the liberation of all. And in the acknowledgement also of the indigenous peoples whose lands we occupy, here in Portland, the Clackamas and the Cowlitz, the 7 tribes of the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde, and the 27 bands of the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz peoples, and just acknowledging that all indigenous communities of the past and of the present and of the future are original makers and artists and healers, and humbly standing in support of their livelihood and their crafts and their sacred histories and stories, and really being grateful for the stewardship of these lands and acknowledging the benefit that we continue to receive in spite of the horrid policies of genocide and relocation and the assimilation that impact has on many indigenous families still today. And lastly, just to lay a foundation of our ancestors and the container in which we practice is the acknowledgement of the Buddhist Asian immigrants in the 19th century when they came in significant numbers to the United States. And from China, they came about 1820, and they began arriving in larger numbers during the California Gold Rush. And then after that, the U.S., has become the home of Sri Lankan and Chinese Buddhists, Japanese, Korean, Thai, Cambodian, Vietnamese. The Immigration Act of 1965 increased lots of numbers of immigrants arriving from China and Vietnam and the Theravadan practicing countries of Southeast Asia. And it is in that lineage of those from Burma, Thailand, of the Theravadan background that I have learned my approach and studies, and Portland Insight Meditation Center also has U Ba Khin from Burma, and then his student Ruth Dennison. And Ruth Dennison is the founding foremother of Portland Insight Meditation Center and was Robert's teacher. So I like to acknowledge these lineages. My personal root teachers are Kamala Masters and Steve Armstrong, who live in Hawaii, and they teach at Insight Meditation Center and at Spirit Rock and all over the country, although now they're just a lot on Zoom, as many people are. And so we've had such an opportunity to practice in so many different ways thanks to Zoom. And so I really appreciate us being here. I see that I moved my bell, so I have to go get it. I have less of my bowls behind me today. Yesterday I packed up 13 of them and hauled them over to PIMC and had a beautiful day of meditation and dances of the feminine goddess of Tara, and I did my bowls for about 20 minutes, and it was lovely to be there. So I've come back with a few that I kept packed away and a few that I pulled out. I also want to recognize that it's almost spring. And so, yeah, yay. I'd like to read this piece by Luby McNamara. It's from its journal that's workthatreconnects.org. That's her website. And I thought I'd read it because it's engaging and brings us in connection with the earth. Reconnecting with my joy for life, I appreciate being alive in this time. I feel gratitude for the wonders around and within. As I sense the timeless beauty expressed in the heart of a daisy, I reconnect with the radiant beauty traveling through the center of my eyes. Reconnecting with the splendor present in every humming insect, in every bird in flight, in every whispering of the leaves. I touch the icy fear present in me, that one day these treasures will be lost from our world, reconnecting with the well of sorrow that lives inside my belly and travels so deep. My endless tears mourn what we have lost, and my desire to protect is awakened. Reconnecting with my anger for all injustices, I feel a surge of courage to make changes. Diving below my numbness bar, I discover I care deeply for every person and every being. A part of me shares the suffering of those I have never met. Reconnecting with my feelings, more of myself is engaged. I feel energized and ready to stand and make a difference. Reconnecting with my belly, I understand my power. Reconnecting with my feet, I feel my roots softening into the earth. Reconnecting with my mind, I experience my edges and my lack of edges. Reconnecting with my heart, my love widens to fill my whole breath. Reconnecting with my core, I am who I am and I am fluid. Letting go of the stories of my life, I reconnect with the poetry of my being, the intimate expression of my soul, the mystery held in paradox. As I let go of the shields protecting me, I open to my vulnerability. And in my vulnerability lies my source of strength. Opening my eyes to the challenges of our times, I welcome the possibilities and opportunities for change and growth. I reconnect with a fuller vision of what is possible for myself and the world. Reconnecting with strands of life woven between generations, I feel myself as part of the community of all life. Reconnecting with the reassuring presence of the Milky Way. Time and space stretch, and I know not what to expect. Reconnecting with collective and self-responsibility, I realize we are too powerful not to make a difference, and I find the courage to take a step forward. And so may we take this time to make the courageous step of stepping forward into our own inner world. As I ring the bell, just allow the sound to come arriving into the ear. paying homage to the Buddha, to the Dhamma, and to the Sangha. Let yourself find a comfortable place to sit, so long as you can hear my sometimes guidance and come back when the bell rings later. You might want to stand if sleepiness arises, or lie down and let your eyes stay open so that light can come in, or sit comfortably erect. Beginning by feeling our buttocks on the chair, our feet on the floor, grounded in this body. We may notice thoughts fluttering around just from arriving or from listening as we began. There might be leftover emotions from what's been happening to us during the day. Allowing ourselves to begin to settle as we still the body, and the mind naturally can sometimes begin to calm on its own if we pay attention to the breath wherever we feel it the most. Often it's at the nostrils where we might notice coolness and warmth on the inhale or the exhale. Or maybe we notice pressure at the belly on an inhale, or the diaphragm. Maybe we have the attention of a single object on a touch point at our seat, or where our hands touch, or where our arms might be touching the body. Wherever we begin our practice, if we start at first with the single object of the touch point or the breath, it gives us an anchor to return to when we notice ourselves roaming away in thought. Coming back into this fathom-long body, sitting with gravity on the seat, and letting our breath and the container of our body that holds the breath be available to us, for us to see clearly what arises there. And as we settle, attending to the breath or the touch point, we may notice extra busyness in the mind. Any number of the hindrances can arise of restlessness of the body or the mind. There can be tiredness. And we can use mindfulness to see this clearly, to put a little bit of distance between identifying with the story around it. Sometimes we find ourselves grasping at something that might be pleasant that's occurring in our attention span, or there might be something that's unpleasant that we push away and try to get rid of sooner than it goes on its own. So all of this is clearly seeing what is really happening in the present moment and understanding the Four Noble Truths. The first truth, that there is suffering, that there is disappointment, there is dis-ease if we try to hang on to something. The second noble truth of that there is a cause to the suffering, and the cause is clinging, craving. And so we can notice directly, just sitting here, what arises might be pleasant or what arises might be unpleasant. We might find ourselves grasping at wanting to push it away, or grasping at wanting to keep something that's pleasant. These are perfect moments of awakening, of seeing clearly with mindfulness. Awareness is present, wisdom is present, showing us these moments. And these moments string together, these mindful moments strung together, can begin to make a continuity of practice, continuity of mindfulness. We can see it more clearly as we're sitting. It can happen all throughout our daily life of walking and talking and sitting and standing and lying down. But we have a particularly easier way of seeing the impermanent nature of things when we're quieting the senses and looking deeply with mindfulness at what is being presented to us. These conditions arise due to various circumstances. They come together, they stay for a certain amount of time, and then they're gone without our control. And that can bring us great joy in seeing that clearly as it arises and passes. So we take this time period to hold ourselves in kindness and pay attention to what arises without judgment or shame about it. We're just practicing and training the mind and the heart to be present in this moment. we can often see clearly the three characteristics of existence: anicca, anatta, and dukkha. The constantly changing nature of what comes to us in our senses, the way we create everything is brought to us from our senses. And just allowing to see this clearly, we can see that we can't hang on to anything. And that's the characteristic of impermanence, of anicca. From tangible things in our daily life to trying to control the breath. These things arise due to conditions and pass away when those conditions have fallen apart. And so we can't grasp onto any of it. It becomes non-personal. We can begin to see ourselves removed a little from our attachment to self, from our attachment to our storyline, as we see that there's nothing to hang on to. And if we do try to hang on, dukkha, it creates suffering. Anicca, anatta, dukkha, the three characteristics, seen over and over again. And that's why we have this space of kindness, holding ourselves in gentleness. Knowing that we have the support of the three jewels of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, the possibility of awakening, the teachings that we see directly and are also handed down to us from generation to generation, and to the Sanghas of monks and nuns and lay people, and to our own Sangha, choosing to be with the training and the taming of the mind, the heart and mind that is so hard to tame, but such a worthy endeavor. Whatever arises can be the subject for our mindfulness. Maybe there's a busy mind, or maybe there's something occurring in the body. We can see this. Using mindfulness, we can bring a soft, gentle note to it. We might find ourselves repeating that note over and over again. And that's okay, because it gives the mind a way to focus rather than getting caught in long storylines and coming back again to the present moment. Whatever way, anytime we wake up in this present moment is a moment of freedom. Sometimes we can remind ourselves very simply, breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. It's being known. It's being directly known by us, not thought about, but experienced. Breathing in, I may be aware that it's a long breath or a short breath. We may notice our attention wander, or we wake up in this moment not really knowing what we're supposed to do or what's going on. That's okay. Without blame or without shame, we just begin again, going back to that anchor of the breath of the nostrils, or the breath of the diaphragm, or the buttocks on the cushion, or an expansive breath throughout the body. Sometimes we can feel the container of the body, the whole body breathing. We can sometimes lose the limitations of the feeling of the body as the breath flows in and out of the body. These different levels of practice of the breath, as taught in the Anapanasati Sutta, one of the few actual suttas with instructions of breathing, Anapanasati Sutta and Satipatthana Sutta, are both ways of being with the breath, seeing it clearly, training the mind. And the mind flows on to experience joy and tranquility as we learn to become more dispassionate of what we tend to attach ourselves to, and it can eventually lead toward complete freedom. And so, letting our attention return to the breath really never gets old. It is a vehicle for expanding to freedom. And after a while, we might notice that the breath has changed. We aren't attending to the breath so much anymore. We're having more sensation of awareness being present of anything that's coming and going. There's no right or wrong way to do it. We just do by attending to what's present in our hearts and minds. Sometimes as we sit, we may see clearly into some old habits of the mind and heart as they arise. And we can once again make a soft, gentle note around it without getting entangled. We slowly learn to maintain calm and to roll with change when change rolls in. We slowly allow the mind to be rewired as we train it through meditation, as we begin to untangle from identifying with our stories. And gradually the mindfulness can replace these old patterns and reactions with more appropriate responses of being in the present. That's why we call it practice. It takes time and effort, but we find ourselves adapting and changing. And we can see this moment to moment as we notice the breath. We can see how futile it is and painful it is to try to hold on to what is passing, which is everything. And compassion can wash in with a kinder, truer understanding of why we do what we do, and just allow that kindness and compassion to help things go with a little more ease. The basis of our doing this practice can be held in kindness. We develop patience and we develop equanimity, beginning again and again. As we hold ourselves gently and kindly in this practice, may we incline our hearts and minds toward goodwill. We can remind ourselves of the remembrances, the 5 remembrances. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My actions are my own true belongings. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. My actions are the ground upon which I stand. And if we reflect on these on a regular basis, it can really bring us to the practice of kindness to ourselves and others. This precious human life, the impermanence and mortality, our behavior and its consequences. And as we hold ourselves in gentleness and in kindness, we can remember some of the teachings of the Buddha. May there be every blessing. May all heavenly beings protect you. Through the power of all the Buddhas, may you always be well. May there be every blessing. May all heavenly beings protect you. Through the power of all the Dhammas, may you always be well. May there be every blessing. May all heavenly beings protect you. Through the power of the Sangha, may you always be well. You may have heard the very shortened version of that chant, Bhavatu Sabbe Mangalam. Through the power of the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, the container of the practice, we've been studying and talking about and reviewing and chanting the reflections on universal well-being most of these Sunday evenings. And it's also from one of the 3 different suttas on loving kindness. May I abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may I maintain well-being in myself. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety. And may they maintain well-being in themselves. May all beings be released from all suffering, and may they not be parted from the good fortune they have attained. When they act upon intention, all beings are the owners of their action and inherit its results. Their future is born of such action, companion to such action, and its results will be their home. All actions with intentions, be they skillful or harmful, of such acts they will be their heirs. And so we hold ourselves in this kindness and goodwill and compassion for ourselves, knowing how challenging it is in this lifetime. Knowing also that it's challenging for everyone else. Just as I wish to be happy, I know that all beings wish to be happy. May we hold ourselves in kindness. May we include others in that sphere of metta and karuna, kindness and compassion. A close friend, a teacher, or a benefactor. Letting the heart and mind incline toward well-being, goodwill, non-harm, opening our hearts to this unlimited kindness, to this unlimited goodwill, no boundaries. And may we let this sense of kindness and compassion extend to others outside of our sphere of close friends and benefactors. May we also imagine a neutral person, include them in our hearts, or a group of neutral people. Just as I wish to be happy, I know that you also wish to be happy. And when things are challenging, may you be compassionate with yourself, just as I hold you in compassion as we feel each other's pains. We can also call upon equanimity, the fourth of the Brahma Viharas, equanimity, so that we don't fall into extremes as we have compassion for another. And may all beings remember joy, those joyous moments that we see others having, that sympathetic joy. May we receive joy from their joy. And so as we hold this kindness, as it's talked about in the Discourse on Loving Kindness, the Karaniya Metta Sutta, whatever living beings there may be, whether they be weak or strong, omitting none, the great, the mighty, the medium, the short, the small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. With a boundless heart, one should cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. Whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. May all beings be free from harm, safe and protected. Have ease. Anicca vata sankara, upadavaya domino, upakitava meruchanti, te samvapasamo sukho. All conditioned things are subject to impermanence. They arise and pass away. And seeing this clearly with mindfulness brings the greatest happiness. And that happiness is peace. May you really hold dear this practice. And may we really know that the goodness that arises from this practice is of benefit to us and to all beings. Thank you so much for your practice. It really brings me great joy. I say that every time, and I always mean it. It really produces mudita to know that no matter what we're going through, ups and downs, falling asleep, having agitating thoughts, whatever it is, the commitment to be here and to just be able to look at what's happening with some sense of neutrality, with mindfulness, can bring us great joy, and we can really reflect that joy with each other. So as you open your eyes and get some water and put your glasses on, just allow that kindness and compassion that has been generated to flow to each other in our circle. And we'll take just like a 3-minute break, a little bio break, and I'll ring the bell, so just come back in a few minutes.